Unveil the Hidden Truth in Psalm 2. Imagine yourself facing a stormy ocean where each wave is a doubt crashing against the rocks of your deepest beliefs. Have you ever wondered why inner battles seem so insurmountable? Why the search for peace and truth resembles a journey through unknown and dangerous territories? In Psalm chapter 2, we find a mirror that reflects not only our struggle, but the greatness of a revelation that can transform the storm into a serene lake. Since time immemorial, the whispers of the scriptures have been heard by many, but truly understood by few. What if you were told that the words recorded there are not mere stories of comfort, but keys that unlock the most hidden secrets of the human soul and the divine plan? Billy Graham, with his unparalleled eloquence, taught that each verse can be a lighthouse amidst the darkness. And today we will illuminate the shadows surrounding this enigmatic psalm. Consider the audacity of the first verses. Why do the kings of the earth revolt against a higher power? This is not just a narrative of political confrontation, but a living metaphor for the internal resistance we all face. When called to submit to the Creator, there is an invisible struggle, a silent war within each heart, and Psalm chapter 2 is the battlefield where these forces meet. Do you feel the tension? Do you perceive how each word seems to echo the struggles you face in secret? Now imagine you are a traveler on an ancient road, and along the way stones cry out stories of disobedience and consequence. Why does mortal man rage in vain? A question that resonates like a desperate cry in the silence of the night. Billy Graham always emphasized the importance of deep reflection, of the introspection that leads us to question the futility of our own rebellions. There is a truth here, hidden between the lines, that might make you re-evaluate every choice, every resistance. As we move forward, notice how the psalm introduces us to the figure of the Anointed One, he who was chosen for a greater purpose. Who is this Anointed One? How does his story intertwine with your life, with your daily struggles? Billy Graham would teach us that this is not just about an ancient king, but about the Messiah himself, whose authority pacifies chaos and whose voice calms the turbulent sea of our doubts. The revelation unfolding is like a veil being slowly lifted, allowing a glimpse of the glory that was there all along. Finally, listen to the invitation whispered in the last verses: "Kiss the Son, lest he be angry and you perish in the way." A phrase laden with symbolism and urgency. This is not simple advice, but a vibrant warning about the importance of an eternal covenant. Billy Graham would say that here lies the heart of the mystery, the point where acceptance or rejection defines destinies. Are you ready to discover what it truly means to kiss the Son? To unveil how this submission can transform your existence? The journey is steep, but the reward is the peace that surpasses all understanding. Do not look away, for every second of this video is a crucial piece for the mosaic of your faith and understanding. Dive with me into the depths of Psalm chapter 2, where each word is a chain that can both imprison and liberate the soul. Have you ever felt like a drifting boat, questioning the order of the waves and the breath of the winds, pushing you toward unknown destinations? Here, in this sacred narrative, we find a mirror reflecting not only the external turmoil, but the internal storm we all face. Why do we resist so much the voice calling for submission and peace? Do we perhaps fear the calm because we are unfamiliar with what it truly represents? The rebellion described in this psalm is more than an act of insubordination. It is the embodiment of our daily struggles against the invisible, against the authority we cannot see or touch but feel in every fiber of our being. Billy Graham always highlighted man's intimate struggle against divine truth. This resistance is not just a whim, but an epic battle between the desire for autonomy and the need for transcendental guidance. How have you faced this war within yourself? To what extent is your freedom an illusion forged in rebellion? Contemplate now the figure of the Anointed One, he who is set apart to lead and to save. His existence in the verses is an emblem of hope, but also a catalyst for discomfort. There is a disconcerting truth here that true leadership comes not from temporal power, but from an authority that transcends the material world. Billy Graham teaches us that recognizing this authority is the first step toward true transformation. Can you feel the presence of this Anointed One in your life? What does your resistance or acceptance reveal about your spiritual journey? Now imagine yourself walking through a shadowy valley where every step is a decision that can echo through eternity. Why do the nations conspire? Billy Graham might ask, making us look beyond geographical borders to the borders of the human heart. The nations here are the diverse facets of our own soul revolting against the divine order that seeks to harmonize internal chaos. Every internal riot is a lost opportunity for an encounter with peace. Have you ever stopped to listen to the silent cry of your soul, the one that screams for guidance amidst rebellion? Think of the image of a king seated in the heavens, laughing, a laugh not of scorn, but of sovereign confidence in the fulfillment of a much greater plan. Billy Graham would have us reflect on this image, transforming it into an invitation to look at our own anxieties and fears with a renewed perspective. There is a divine laughter that disarms the oppressive seriousness of our struggles. Can you find relief in the idea that there is a broader view in which your battles find true meaning and resolution? Finally, consider the weight of the final words, kiss the Son. This is an invitation that cannot be ignored, an action symbolizing submission and love, fear and trust. Billy Graham would say this is the turning point where every choice is a fork in the road between harmony and imminent danger. Kissing the Son is more than an act. It is an acceptance that transforms chaos into cosmos, disorder into celestial melody. Are you prepared for this moment of surrender to discover how every resistance can dissolve, revealing a peace you can barely conceive? The journey is intense, but each revelation is a light dispelling the shadows of our existence. Wait, as we prepare to dive even deeper, let us advance then, keeping our hearts open to the truths unfolding like an ancient scroll whose letters seem to pulse with life. Imagine yourself in a theater where the curtain slowly rises, revealing scenes from your own life. The raging nations mentioned in the psalm are actors on a stage representing the fragmentation of our essence. When was the last time you saw yourself divided, with parts of yourself in conflict, seeking a unity that seemed elusive and distant? This fragmentation is the prelude to the search for a greater king, a unifier of scattered hearts. The voice of the psalm resonates like thunder, echoing in the most secret chamber of our being, where we keep our most intimate rebellions. Billy Graham knew that true conversion doesn't begin with easy acceptance, but with honest confrontation of our resistances. Why seek crooked paths when the straight road lies before you? This is the question that reverberates, urging us to question the choices that divert us from the truth. Every detour is a wound in the soul, every return to the road a scar of wisdom. Let us contemplate the image of the Anointed One, he who was chosen before the foundation of the world. His presence in the verses is a subtle yet powerful reminder that there is a greater purpose woven into the fabric of our existence. Billy Graham would teach us that this Anointed One is the archetype of the shepherd and protector, the one who knows the way through the existential desert. What would it be like to walk under his leadership, abandoning the illusion of self-sufficiency? Your life could be a harmonious dance instead of a solitary combat. Now, allow the narrative to envelop you like a night breeze, carrying whispered secrets. The heavenly laughter mentioned in the psalm is not contempt, but an expression of confidence in the inevitable victory of love over rebellion. Billy Graham invites us to reflect on this laughter as a promise, a sign that despair does not have the last word. When you face your dark nights, remember this laughter, a guarantee that the light of understanding and acceptance will break at dawn. As we delve deeper, let us consider the duality of fear and desire that the psalm evokes. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, but what is the nature of this fear? Is it a fear that paralyzes or a reverence that liberates? Billy Graham understood this subtlety and used it to challenge our perceptions. The fear you feel before divine truth could be the key that opens the doors to unwavering courage. How have you interpreted this fear? Does it hide a burning desire for a deeper connection with the Creator? Finally, the ultimate provocation. Kiss the sun. This act is a rich metaphor, laden with meanings that transcend the physical gesture. Billy Graham would say, it is a moment of surrender, where pride crumbles and humility becomes the fertile ground for spiritual growth. By kissing the sun, you are not just acknowledging an authority, but embracing a truth that can redefine your existence. Do you feel the urgency of this choice? Every moment of hesitation is a life not lived in fullness. Prepare yourself, for the journey is far from over, and each revelation is a step closer to the transformation you yearn for. Let us delve even further into the narrative spiral of Psalm chapter 2, where each verse seems like a thread in a complex spiritual tapestry. One. Imagine yourself on a battlefield where weapons are made of intentions and shields of beliefs. The struggle described is not just between earthly forces, but between human will and divine will. Billy Graham would guide us to question, what is the true cost of resistance? When you face the Creator's will, what causes you more discomfort? The idea of submission or the promise of a reoriented life? Here, the words of the psalm intertwine with the reality of our daily lives like deep roots supporting a leafy tree. The nations in their fury are like storms that shake this tree but cannot uproot it. Billy Graham would teach us to see these storms as opportunities to root ourselves more firmly in the truth. Every confrontation with doubt is an invitation to dig deeper and discover the solidity of faith. Are you ready to transform your storms into sources of strengthening? The figure of the Anointed One emerges again like a lighthouse in the dark night. He is the living symbol of authority that does not impose itself, but offers itself. Billy Graham would highlight that true leadership, like that of the Anointed One, does not force submission, but inspires it through the example of life and sacrifice. What would it be like to allow this example to illuminate the dark corners of your soul? Divine leadership seeks not to dominate, but to liberate. Can you feel the difference vibrating within you? Now let the narrative envelop you like a translucent veil, which simultaneously hides and reveals. The mentioned heavenly laughter is a shocking contrast to the oppressive seriousness of our struggles. Billy Graham would encourage us to see in this laughter a divine irony, a demonstration that God sees the end of the game while we are still caught in its intermediate complexities. When was the last time you found relief and perspective amidst chaos. This laughter is an invitation to elevate our vision and find rest in divine wisdom. Think about the duality of fear and desire that permeates this psalm. The fear of the Lord is a narrow gate leading to a vast garden of understanding. Billy Graham understood this journey as a path of purification, where reverent fear burns like a fire consuming the impure, leaving only the essential. What fear do you carry that might actually be the catalyst for your greatest transformation? The key lies in discerning the fear that imprisons from the one that liberates. Lastly, reflect again on the imperative. Kiss the Son. This is a moment of definitive choice, a crossroads where every step is a silent cry of acceptance or rejection. Billy Graham would speak of this kiss as an act of faith that unleashes a torrent of grace, a surrender that unites us with the eternal rhythm of the universe. Is every cell of your being aware of this choice? Hesitation is natural, but what will you lose if you do not allow yourself to be led by this truth? The journey is visceral, and each revelation is an invitation to leave the old self behind and embrace a destiny full of meaning. Now, take a deep breath, for there are more layers to uncover, more truths to feel. In the fourth block of this immersion, allow the narrative of Psalm chapter 2 to intertwine with the innermost fibers of your existence. Imagine yourself as a pilgrim on an ancient road, where every stone beneath your feet is an unresolved moment of decision. Billy Graham often evoked the image of the spiritual journey as a path fraught with crucial choices. Here, every step you take is a whisper to the universe, an affirmation of what you value. What has been the sound of your steps? Do they echo with the weight of rebellion or the lightness of surrender? Delve deeper into the metaphor of the rebellious nations as if they were the discordant voices within your own mind. Each voice represents an aspect of yourself that yearns for autonomy, that cries out against any limitation. Billy Graham would teach us to recognize these voices not as enemies, but as parts of us that need to be heard and eventually harmonized under divine leadership. How can you begin to listen to and integrate these divergent voices, transforming internal chaos into a symphony of unity? Contemplate the figure of the Anointed One, he who was consecrated to bring order to chaos, peace to the internal war. Billy Graham would emphasize that the Anointed One is not just a distant leader, but a guide who walks with us, who knows the road of our anguish. The presence of this Anointed One is a constant invitation to look beyond our limitations. What would it be like to allow this presence not only to illuminate, but also to redefine your path? True leadership is not imposed, but recognized and accepted by the prepared heart. Now, let the emotional tension rise as we consider the contrast between heavenly laughter and human despair. God's laughter, mentioned in the psalm, is not mockery, but an expression of certainty and benevolence. Billy Graham would challenge us to find comfort in this laughter, to discover the confidence it conveys, as if God were telling us, "I know the end of this story, and you are safe in my hands." When you felt most helpless, how would embracing this divine certainty have transformed your anguish? Explore the complexity of reverent fear, the fear that Billy Graham so often explained as the foundation for a life of deep connection with the divine. This fear is not a monster that devours, but a guardian that protects. How can you transform the fear that paralyzes into a shield that strengthens you? The key lies in recognizing that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of a journey, not its end. It is an invitation to a relationship of respect and love, where every hesitation is a prelude to more robust trust. Finally, kiss the Son. Let this phrase resonate like a bell within your being. This is a call that cannot be ignored, a decision that redefines your entire existence. A Billy Graham would interpret this kiss as an act of faith that unlocks the springs of mercy and grace. As you consider this surrender, what internal barriers do you feel? How can each resistance, each doubt, become a step towards a deeper revelation of who you are and who you can become? Transformation is imminent, but it requires you to move through the tension, the doubt, to reach the peace that surpasses all understanding. Prepare yourself, for the next stage of this narrative spiral will require you to confront your deepest truths and consider the beauty of transformative submission. In the fifth block of this narrative journey, allow the words of Psalm chapter 2 to be like a balm, penetrating the wounds of your doubts and resistances. Imagine yourself as an ancient, sealed vessel containing a precious liquid that is your soul. Billy Graham would teach us that every painful experience is an opportunity to break these seals, allowing divine light to enter and transform the precious liquid into an elixir of eternal life. Which seal do you feel is about to break? The discordant voices of the nations in the psalm are like mirrors, reflecting our own internal struggles. Every riot, every conspiracy described is a symbolic representation of the times we rebel against the truth that would set us free. Billy Graham would challenge us to recognize these moments not as defeats, but as turning points. When you rebel against the eternal, what are you really trying to protect? And what do you lose by clinging to rebellion? The figure of the Anointed One, the Son, is a focal point of power and peace within the psalm. He is the herald of truth, whose voice is both a balm and an awakening. Billy Graham would emphasize that obedience to the Anointed One is not a sign of weakness, but the true manifestation of strength and wisdom. What would it be like to allow this divine leadership not just to guide, but also to recreate your identity? True strength lies not in resistance, but in the ability to be molded in the Creator's hands. Consider the heavenly laughter as a moment of absolute clarity. This laughter, so enigmatically mentioned, is a manifestation of divine joy at the certainty of love's victory over rebellion. Billy Graham would encourage us to seek this same clarity in our lives, to find joy in God's promises, even when facing storms. What moment of clarity have you been avoiding? And what joy could flood your soul upon accepting this divine perspective? Reverent fear here is a delicate dance between the known and the unknown, between the comfort of routine and the call to the new. Billy Graham would teach us that the fear of the Lord is what impels us forward to explore the depths of our faith. This fear is not an end, but a means to achieve a richer understanding and a more intimate relationship with the divine. How can you use the fear you feel to catapult yourself toward a new spiritual reality? And now let us face again the imperative that resonates like a call of destiny. Kiss the Son. This is the moment of supreme truth, where every hesitation is a sign of an internal battle yet unwon. Billy Graham would say that this kiss is more than passive acceptance. It is an active act of love, a declaration that you choose the covenant with the divine. What transformations do you anticipate as you prepare for this act of devotion? Every cell of your being yearns for this connection, even if fear still whispers resistance. The journey is intense, but with each step, the light becomes brighter and the truth more palpable. Wait, for we are about to unveil the apex of this revelation, where every emotion and every doubt will be confronted by the final truth that awaits us. Now, as the melody of this psalm intertwines with the silence following each spoken word, allow the essence of what has been revealed to seep into your soul. Imagine every doubt, every resistance like leaves in the wind, scattering to reveal the clarity that was always there beneath the surface. Billy Graham would teach us that it is in the silence after the final word that we truly begin to understand. Do you feel the stillness settling in, inviting you to deep and sincere reflection? The rebellious nations, the internal conflicts are now like distant echoes. Think of each faced riot as a lesson learned, the chaos gradually giving way to order as you align yourself with the divine will. This transformation is not an end, but a new beginning. What would it be like to live each day with the certainty that every struggle faced is a link in the chain of your spiritual evolution? Allow this idea to resonate within you, redefining your perception of conflict and peace. The figure of the Anointed One, the Son, now becomes a beacon of hope. His leadership is not a shadow that intimidates us, but a light that invites us to be more. Billy Graham would say that recognizing this authority is like opening a window closed for years, letting the divine breeze renew the stagnant air of our lives. What sensation would fill your soul living under this light, allowing it to guide your most uncertain steps? Contemplate the mentioned heavenly laughter, not as an audible sound, but as a feeling of relief and confidence spreading through your being. This laughter is the promise that the divine plan is infallible and that even our greatest storms cannot divert the course of eternal love. Feel this divine irony as a hand lifting you, reassuring you that the comedy and tragedy of your life are safe in the hands of a loving Creator. How does this change the way you face your days? Reverent fear now is a gentle flame illuminating the path ahead. It is not a consuming fire, but a guiding light. Billy Graham always spoke this way about the fear of the Lord as an invitation to know more, love more, live more fully. Let this flame dispel the shadows of the unknown, transforming fear into an impulse toward closeness and understanding. What new horizon do you glimpse by allowing this light to guide your steps? And now, kiss the sun. This is the final invitation, a phrase carrying the weight of an eternal decision. It is not a kiss given out of obligation, but out of choice, recognition, and love. Billy Graham would say that this moment is the culmination of a life of seeking and discovery. As you prepare for this surrender, feel the awakening of a new consciousness, a transformation that will echo in every cell of your being. What truth do you discover as you approach this promise? Like a pilgrim who finally reaches the mountain summit, you now hold a broader view, a richer understanding. Allow this new perspective to inspire you to act. Like this video as a gesture of gratitude for the journey. Comment, share, subscribe. Becoming part of a community that seeks truth with fervor and sincerity. And when the next recommended video flashes on the screen, see it as an inevitable continuation of this eternal conversation. After all, the search never ends. It only deepens, expands, enriches itself. Your soul, now touched, yearns for more. And so, under the echo of Billy Graham's words, continue to explore, to feel, to live the truth that Psalm chapter 2 has revealed.